Repetition creates patterns and visual consistency in your design or images. It can help guide your viewer through the image or design. This is especially true in web design when you use the repetition of framing to create visual consistency down the page. So for instance, if you had a blog website, the repetition comes from each blog post that is posted on the main page. That feed is creating repetition. You have the same title look, the same body of the introduction look, and the same thumbnail or image for that specific blog post. But it's laid out in the same format. Every time you post a new one, it looks the same on the main page. It creates repetition and patterns, and it makes it easier for the viewer to digest and understand the more they see it and the more they come back to it. It can definitely make images and graphics pleasing to the viewer and add continuity between objects in the scene. So here you can see a basic illustration where repetition has been used within the leaves to create this artwork. They have the same color, the same shape, and varying sizes, but the repetition of these leaves kind of moves the viewer eyes around this tree and this image. In this photograph, we have repetition of the style of wood here, this texture. So you have this a dark wood texture to light, to dark, to light, to dark. That creates repetition. And when you're viewing this down the page, it makes it uniform and easy to see. Now, if you had blocks of text in these lighter areas, then you would easily understand that as you went down the image, and it would become easy for you to read. Now, you can also break up repetition to draw focus or focal point or emphasis to something. So if one of these, like say this one, was a light one, it would throw that repetition off and draw focus to that design. Same thing if you were to rotate it a little bit. It doesn't have that straight horizontal, and then you get down here, it's rotated. That is going to draw focus. So repetition helps create things in order, but you can also stop the process to draw focus to whatever you want that person to see. So in this example, you can see we have the repetition of both these side patterns and also these page breaks. So there's some repetition going on with that page break, this one, and then at the bottom. So when you come down here, you have the same feeling. And you get some movement with this pattern of repetition, bouncing the arrows down, kind of telling you how to read this. They look like little arrows and on both sides bordering this saying, read this downwards. And the repetition and pattern there is helping to create that for you. In this image, repetition is being used by the framing and style of photographs, these desaturated, grayscaled kind of images on the right-hand side. And you just kind of read these top to bottom, going down by the repetition of the framing elements around them to kind of keep them the same and put them together. And finally here, repetition is used within the artwork, within the actual shapes that we have going on here. So we have some similar dark green leaves, and then we have some similar light green leaves. We also have these little starbursts that are this pinkish and purplish color, and you can find those throughout this design. They just didn't stick them at the top. They kind of sprinkled them around in a nice balanced and pleasing look, but they're creating repetition and pattern by the way that they have used these starbursts throughout the image. So it helps create uniformity and balance. So use repetition to help the viewer. It makes it easier for them to digest information when they start picking up on patterns. So if you have an infographic and the title has a logo, well, when you get to the second title, that second logo needs to look similar. That second symbol should look as similar to the first symbol when you do that, you're creating a pattern, and then the viewer knows what to expect. They start understanding and processing the information quicker and easier because they start seeing these patterns. It's natural for us to see patterns in every day, and it is used in design all the time. So definitely look out for patterns, and that is repetition.